Welcome everyone to The It Couple. I am your host, Sarah St. Germain, along with
your husband,
my
Dan.
husband, Dan.
This is our first remote podcast ever.
It's kind of exciting. Also, I don't go by St. Germain. I just thought it was easier.
Wow,
than
I was
hyphenating.
shook. I was, oh my God, I was.
No, it's still a Laco.
Cool.
I just, for spelling purposes, for graphics, SJ and Dan St. Germain just flows
nice.
a little bit better. And we are here with our guest today.
Our hilarious friend.
Incredible talent. She is a writer, a director, a comedian, and also
Has her own horror movie.
Yes.
With Pierce Bronson.
Which is amazing, by the way. We should have done that one. We have, drumroll, Ilana Glazer.
Ilana Glazer, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you for doing
I've known
this,
you both
Ilana.
for decades.
I know.
SJ, literally decades almost.
No, you were still in NYU when I met you.
The
Yeah, I
last
bet
time
I
we were
was
filming
19.
together was like in Ed Larson's apartment. It was like some weird
Oh my
devil
gosh.
orgy skit. I don't even know what it was, but
Yeah,
it was
wow.
we were there all day. But
Yeah, we've known each other
How did
for.
you guys meet?
I have no idea. I have no memory.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know how I met you either.
I met you
Although I
through
think-
Elliot.
Oh, yes. But I'm like, I don't know the
Alana's hilarious
moment.
brother. Yeah, I don't either.
Perhaps it was this party in Cobble Hill.
Perhaps.
Remember, like, the city when I was younger, like, felt like this, I don't know, an elaborate set. It didn't feel real. It was so shocking to live here.
Yeah.
So I remember actually the feeling of getting out of the F and being like, Bergen. And then I remember this party. I think it was actually. That is, I rarely remember when I met people.
People, yeah. I do remember.
Oren Bremer used to have like the comedy parties.
Who?
Which I was never
Oren
invited to.
Bremer.
Well, actually,
Oh
I
my
was
God.
in LA once, but
Those were wild.
He used to have these parties where it was a who's who of today's
Alt
hottest comedians and actors and talent.
now there's just comedians and TikTok stars. There's no
exactly.
there's no altar club.
And like the
that's
occasional writer from SNL. So, talking about this movie, before we get into it, Ilana has chosen the 1980 Stanley Kubrick directed psychological horror film produced and directed by Stanley Kubrick, The Shining. It is based on Stephen King's 1977 novel of the same name and stars Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Scatman, Crothers, and Danny Lloyd.
You know, I thought you were going to mention his co-writer on this, which is this Diane Johnson helped Kubrick write this.
Oh, right.
The next
Wow.
thing she did was The Divorce with like Naomi Watts. It was like this rom-com. Like her two credits are either this weird rom-com with like Naomi Watts or
When
The
was
Shining.
that with Naomi Watts?
Like 20 years later.
She didn't write anything in between.
I think she wrote the novel that was based on now.
That
Wow.
is so strange. So Stanley Kubrick had help from a lady.
From a lady, and I forgot
And
to
not
mention
Stephen
her.
King, which he must have been kind of pissed off about. Like he gets a novelist that's not Stephen King.
Well, Stephen King hated this film. He hated this
hated it.
version because it was very different from the book.
It's one
Wait,
of
you
my
said
favorite.
Stephen King hates this version.
He
I
hates
thought
this
earlier
version.
you said Kubrick does.
No,
Oh,
Kubrick.
Kubrick, I don't even know if
Oh,
he's
King
commented
hates
on it.
this
It's
version.
not
That
his
makes
favorite
sense.
movie, but Stephen King hates it. And Stephen King did his own, because I remember I was super excited about this, because I'm a huge Stephen King fan. He did his own version for it for ABC, like a miniseries, and it is bad. It's
Really?
very bad. Steven Weber is playing the Jack Nicholson role, who I like a lot.
We
but
love a Steven Weber. Yeah.
You are a Stephen King fan in that you read his books.
I read his books.
Dan actually reads the books.
watch
Stop.
his movies.
You
I
read?
actually
Whoa.
I only read the
Nerd.
first half of The Shining, but I got it again because I think I want to finish it this Halloween. I love this movie, man, and this is like pandemic horror. This is like one of the best pandemic horror movies
Because they're like quarantining
just
kind of.
quarantining together. They're
You're
isolating the whole
isolated.
time.
So, like, let me remember the like key points. So they're like a family who goes for like a long weekend or something.
No, it's not a long weekend. It's the whole winter. He gets hired.
Oh,
to be-
yikes.
Yeah, he gets hired.
That's
to be,
scary.
He gets hired to be the innkeeper for 4 months.
Oh
because
my God. Okay,
the hotel
fully.
is shut. So he's got to like run the boiler room and run all the power to make sure.
By
it
the
stays
way,
around.
Wendy, the wife, ends up doing all of the
Of course.
fucking
Okay,
caretaker work.
I thought he was a writer and they were taking like a writer's retreat weekend. Not thought, just misremembered.
No, but he is writing when he's
Okay.
there. So before we get into it,
Also, everybody in life is always writing something. Maybe that's just the circles. Like,
Except me,
I
I
mean,
write nothing.
anybody, even if I meet like a bus driver, they're like, "Well, I'm actually working on a sci-fi novel."
Yeah,
You're like, I didn't know
totally.
that.
or they're an actor.
There are
wanna
more
be an
writers
actor.
than readers
Yeah.
now.
Okay, so before we get into it, what's the scariest thing that's happened to you this week? Who wants to go first? Dan?
Well, I really hope people show up to my special.
That's scary.
This will air after the special,
So that's where all my anxiety is going lately, is just making sure that people go to it. As far as other scary stuff, I mean, look, I mean, there was like 4 articles in a row about global warming that the Times had last week, and I was just like, because like those articles are so devastating, because it's like they just kind of release and then there's no debate. People are like, well, all right.
I know.
Well, there was the article too about the AI.
Yes.
The people that are creating them are like, we're going to be extinct. Like they're going to wipe us, humanity, off the face of the earth. So that was scary. Ilana?
Not like a scary thing, but it was just like socially scary. Was I was wearing sunglasses and I was on the train, and this woman was like, "What the fuck are you looking at?"
To you?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "You're staring at me." I honestly think I trust her.
Yeah.
I honestly think she was correct, and I was mindlessly staring, I think. And I was like, "I'm so sorry. Sorry, I'll stop."
And we do that though, like on the
That was how it
subway.
ended?
Yeah, she was like, "You came on the train, you're crossed over, you've been staring at me ever since." And I'm like, I don't know.
Were you sitting?
No, I was standing.
Standing and looking at her.
And I think also like, I don't know, I do look around.
So do I. I stare at
Have you ever
people.
been
Same.
on the
Especially
train?
behind sunglasses.
I
'Cause
know.
it's like-
So I was like, this is scary actually, because it's inappropriate and I'm doing it. Sorry.
I think you should,
Yeah.
use a feather, not a brick. You were fine in that situation. But
Okay, so let's get into the film, shall we?
Le film.
yes, miss.
Okay, so we begin with the opening titles. We have this beautiful scenery. We follow this little VW bug as it's climbing up this steep mountain. We come to find out that inside of it is Jack Torrance, who is Jack Nicholson. And he's on his way to the Overlook Hotel for a job interview.
It really makes me laugh to think of Jack Nicholson as like a sort of like typical rom-com. I know this is a horror movie, but like that he
Yeah.
was like an average everyday guy, and he was such a like sort of salacious movie star at like
Oh, yeah.
whatever Roman Polanski's house, or it was at his house at which.
The rape happened.
Yes.
Oh, that was where the Polanski thing happened? Was it? Oh, that's right. It was him. He was there with like Angelica Houston, right?
And Angelica Houston was so young too when he was dating her. Heartburn. That's what I watched recently.
I love Heartburn.
And it was just so
man.
funny for him to be like rom-com, like the
Yeah.
subject of a rom-com. I was like, LOL, because I think of him more as a slippery character. But back
Well,
then,
he's pretty slippery in that movie.
He's horrible in that movie. He
yeah, but he's
cheats
so
on her.
lovable and
Yeah.
He's so charming.
And also like, he cheats on her. But are they like truly dating?
Yeah, they're married.
Yeah, they're married. But I will say something.
Oh fuck! No, I'm thinking of
The Diane Keaton.
no. Shit.
Terms of Endearment.
Yes.
Yes, he's lovely.
That's what I'm thinking
Charming.
of. Yeah.
Yes, he's
No, he's
so-
slippery in Heartburn. No, I'm thinking in terms of endearment. But even all these movies, the fact that he's the love interest, like go-to guy, really makes me laugh. He's
Do you
so
find him
slippery.
attractive? Sarah doesn't find him attractive at all. Do you find him attractive?
Now?
No, I mean not
Right now.
You're
At
like,
a
I
Lakers
didn't,
game.
I didn't
No.
then, but now, oh
Yeah.
my god!
Yeah.
When he starts to drool at a Lakers game,
Yeah,
I really
like a
get real hot and
frail,
bothered.
sort of like older sheep style Nicholson. No, he's not at all my type.
Yeah,
I don't even have a type. I'm not attracted to him.
No, I get it. And there are like certain men that like you say like Harrison Ford. I'm like could get it then, could get it now. Bruce Springsteen then and now could hit it. But like
Go on as a no
Jack?
on all those.
No,
Never.
who'd you just say? Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford.
I mean, totally beautiful when he was younger, but not into it. Jack Nicholson, I'm like, am I even attracted to his talent? No. Bruce Springsteen, then totally.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oof. Like a 1978 Bruce.
So, like, yeah.
You know what? You know what's so fascinating about Bruce? And then we got to get to the movie. Like he has affairs, but all his affairs are with like women.
Allegedly, Dan.
Alleged.
Who,
Okay.
Nicholson?
Alleged. Sorry, I don't want to get sued.
Bruce.
Yeah.
But all his
Bruce?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. But he's like his affairs are like with like women in their 40s and 50s who like live in the same township who are like
That's
just
so hot.
getting
I love
married.
it.
They're like gym buddies.
I
Yeah,
love
he's-
it.
it's not
I
like
love
groupies,
some
it's like
normal
somebody-
ass fucking
Love it.
tri-state
It's like a girl
area
he meets in LA
affairs.
Fitness, and then
I
Bruce is
love
like, "Oh, you
that.
look pretty good."
That's honestly like, if it is happening, that's like definitely okay in his marriage, is what I would imagine.
Oh, for sure. Well, they confronted his wife about it, and she said, "My marriage is none of your business."
I love
Good.
it.
You know?
I
They
love
have an
that.
open thing. Who cares?
Yeah.
If it works
That's
for them,
dope.
allegedly. Okay.
Bruce, if you want to marry me and cheat on me, and I get
God, I
the
would love
backyard, I'm
that.
fine with that.
Leave me for him, please. So Jack is going in, back to the film. Jack is going in, and when I say Jack, Nicholson and Torrance, because the character's name is Jack, he's going in for an interview with Mr. Ullman, who is the manager of the Overlook Hotel. And they sit down and they exchange pleasantries. And then we cut to Wendy and Danny, his wife and his young son. They're eating sandwiches. She's reading The Catcher in the Rye, smoking, always smoking in this movie. And she makes
Shelley?
it look so cool. Yeah. And it's just like the way she smokes.
I actually,
Just
I
like
love that
19
she smokes. Like sometimes
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
it's gratuitous smoking in movies, but I'm like, for her character, it's perfect.
No, the child is eating a sandwich and she's smoking.
So funny.
Like just next to him. I love it. It's like how I grew up and my dad smoking around us. Explains a lot. So after that, we find that little Danny has an imaginary friend named Tony. And he uses a finger puppet.
Oh,
to
yikes.
In my
is
head,
that
I kept
creepy.
going, how funny would it be if for the remake, they had Tony played by Tony Danza, and he was just doing that.
It's just.
Are they
I
remaking
think there's
it?
ghosts in here, buddy.
I hope not. Are
Oh,
they
oh.
remaking this?
What?
Are they remaking?
No, not
Oh, you're
yet.
just saying if
they were
they
about
did.
to remake Salem's Lot, which I was excited about, but then they stopped with that too.
Nice.
But,
Also, I read somewhere that Danny, the little boy, when they were casting this, he's the one that came up with the finger puppet.
Oh, wow.
That was
Really?
his move. Yeah, because I thought
He's
that
great
He's
in this
fantastic, and he
movie.
stopped. He's smart because he got out of show business.
That's cool.
What does he do now?
I have no idea. He's happy. Okay, so then we're back, and now Jack and Mr. Ullman. Ullman's explaining why they shut down for the winter because the road is impassable. It's 25 miles of road, heavy storms, and as the caretaker,
So scary.
Right?
It
Can you
really
imagine?
is creepy from the beginning.
from the moment it starts, the music.
Do you know what I love about this movie too? And it was when I was rewatching, I was like, there are no jump scares. And so many horror movies,
There's
like
one.
which
No,
one?
there's one that I actually went, and it's not when maybe it's when he kills
Well,
Dick in the end.
that's the one jump scare. Yeah.
That is the one.
Oh,
But
it's
he
really
he
scary.
but what Kubrick does in this, and I'm starting like a filmer. This was like rewatching this. I was like, God, this guy is kind of a genius because it was like almost all the scary things about this movie are from the camera angles and the music. And the music increases when the terror of Shelley Duvall is increasing, and then it gets really narrow. The camera gets really narrow, and it's like it's none of that because we're so used to now. Like we watch like Insidious or all these like Blumhouse ones where it's just like you woke up and there's like an old woman as a nurse going like, you know, like, and this is just all mood. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty phenomenal that he was able to capture that.
Especially
you know?
when he's following like Danny on his little trike bike
Right.
down hallways, and you're like, what is he going to come across? What is going to pop in front of?
It's interesting also speaking to the AI thing. Like it's interesting how like the elegance of certain filmmaking or even TV making is makes you feel dignified as a human being.
Yeah.
You know, like there is something so like I don't mean like actually like sexual, but like hot about The Shining that is like I don't know, you feel included in something beautiful, even though it's so scary. It's so like cool and smart.
I think you're right because it's us and them. And that's it. There's nobody else really there. So once the place shuts down and it is just the family, it's us, the viewer, with them experiencing
And
sort
it's
of all
such a
these
big
things.
open space. It does feel like you could, even like with an audience full of people, it feels like you could be there with them.
Yep.
It's freaky.
Yeah.
And I also think with the, reading the book and then, seeing both versions of the miniseries, well, the movie and then the
Reading the
miniseries.
book. Brag.
Like what they try to do.
We get it. You
I
can
know,
read.
you read.
Only read half. But what they try to do with him is that like he kind of goes on more of a journey in a book and the series, which I think works against it's why the movie is superior because like he's like trying in the beginning, like he's like, oh, I'm making up for the back because I hurt Danny in the past, I don't want to do this, and he's like trying to be nice, and in the movie it's just he's just a dick to her the whole fucking time.
Oh,
for
he's
the
terrible
most part.
to her.
But I think that works for it because she's like, because he starts off a dick and then he goes crazy, so I'm like, well, this woman has no
She's in an abusive, like,
and she was on set
emotionally
too. She was abused on
abusive.
set as far as like psychologically and
By Kubrick.
Kubrick and Nicholson.
Nicholson.
They would like scream at her,
Yeah.
which is awful. But I was also like,
But
is
that's
this why
how-
she's so fucking good in this?
Yeah.
too?
That's how they did it, though. Like those scenes that they, followed her with the bat. That whole scene, I think they did like 127 times or something.
That is so abusive.
And he was like, again, scarier. And you watch that, and whatever take he used, it is the most frightening thing ever.
That is so scary. And that is like truly how TV and film used to be,
Yeah.
especially film, is like actual abuse and
To get that.
statutory rape.
Oh yeah, like Last
On
Tango
film.
in Paris.
I'm not laughing about the rape.
Last
Well,
Tango
I'm
in
just
Paris
laughing
is
'cause
like
it
a big
hurts.
example of that.
That's
yeah.
right. I was just like, what is the one? And it's that. And it's
It's
like
that one.
art, like good one.
You know, it's if you watch the making of with Kubrick, the making of his daughter makes it, and it's interesting because it's on YouTube. You guys can go check it out now. It's only like 17 minutes, but they broadcast. There was a version which it was Kubrick's version and Kubrick's daughter's version, and they used Kubrick's daughter's version because that's the one that Kubrick wanted to edit himself out, and that's the one where you have Kubrick kind of being salty with Shelley Duvall and all this other stuff. But it is kind of like eye-opening. You do wonder, like, is this why the performance was so good?
Yeah, of course.
What's annoying is that it makes the case, it's like this feedback loop where it's like, well, we had to get that performance because it's so good. We have to abuse women on screen
Which you don't
so
need to
that we
do.
get
Right.
no.
That was his method, as
Yeah.
opposed to being like, just be scared. He's like, I'm going to fucking make you scared. I'm
yeah,
gonna beat
and
it
it's
into
like
you.
men. I guess all the stories were about men being abusive and women being abused. So it just like was this feedback loop of like, this is how we tell these stories accurately.
Right. That's how we get that.
There's also like, even to get away from the male-female dynamics, like there's a Werner Herzog movie where like they almost kill each other, Werner Herzog and the lead actor. I forget what it is now. They had a real weird relationship. But there's a moment where like you could see all the guys want to kill the lead actor, like because he got like
In the movie
indigenous
you can see
speakers.
this?
Yeah, he got indigenous, and they all want to like literally kill. So I think it was just like the 70s, 80s style of filmmaking
Yeah.
where it's like chaos.
And that's true. And Stephen King also did not like this version of Wendy. He thought she was very weak. And the Wendy that he created was a stronger, more self-sufficient. But we do see spots of her because she's doing all the caretaker work, which we'll get into. So now we're with Mr. Ullman. Mr. Ullman then explains that Jack says he's a writer. Oh, I'm going to write. I'm a teacher, and I'm going to write, and all this stuff. He tells him about Charles Grady, who was a former caretaker who ended up going crazy in the solitude, and he killed his wife and his 2 daughters. He
Yeah.
chopped them up.
Which is
and
a
then,
daughter and a son in the book.
Oh, it is a daughter, and they're not twins.
They're not twins.
But in the movie, they're
They're
the twin
twins.
girls. Come and play.
Which works better. Mm-hmm. You know?
Those creepy twins, we love them. Yeah, so that, so then the Grady blew his brains out. And that is how he welcomes Jack into this new role of character.
Jack's like,
Welcome.
perfect. I can't wait to murder my wife I fucking
But
hate.
you know what? In that
And he
scene,
does hate her. He
I was
so
like,
does.
that is creepy. But like, if we really knew the history of every apartment we moved into in New York City, we would be living on the street. You
Yeah.
know?
And
Like,
by the way, also the fact that like anything that's built is built on some sort of a burial ground in New York City.
Right.
And so even if you're living in a brand new high rise, whatever was there before. And by the way, the Overlook also built on an Indian burial ground.
well, that's another
What's
theory.
the Overlook?
The
Oh,
theory
oh,
it is
oh.
mentioned in the book that it
Maybe.
is, but like the theory is that it's this angry spirits of Cherokee.
I thought
that
that the Overlook was like a new Hudson Yards situation.
it does look like
it does.
sound
It
like
feels like it, yeah.
Sounds like something like Jared Kushner secretly finances. And we
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
So we have so he gets the job, hooray. He tells Wendy, he calls her. And meanwhile, little Danny, we're starting to realize that imaginary puppet friend is actually warning him of things. So the little Tony is talking to him and telling him why he doesn't want to go to the Overlook. And he's showing him images of blood rushing out of the elevators. He shows the Grady twins. I keep wanting to call them the O'Grady twins, but the Grady twins. And then the next scene, he's being looked at by a doctor, and he tells her that Tony is a little boy that lives in his mouth.
Yeah.
And no one can see him because then he hides in his stomach. So that's how we find out the kid has some sort of psychic abilities to sort of see things.
It's interesting that the actor who plays Danny never continued in Hollywood because it's almost like he had a little Tony in real life. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know what I mean? Like he saw that, like he flew so close.
Don't go to Brian Singer's house.
Yeah, truly. Don't go to that audition.
It's not a real pool party.
Yeah.
Stay away from the Coreys. Okay.
Especially the
R.I.P.
music.
Corey Haim. The music. Okay, so we find out through Wendy talking to the doctor that Jack is an alcoholic. He stopped drinking because he dislocated Danny's arm by pulling him drunkenly one night. And she does that thing that, like, you know, that abused wife, Stockholm Syndrome thing, where she's like, well, he didn't mean to. And, you know, he's done it 1,000 times. How many times do you grab a child? It was just the wrong way. And so
yikes,
now we
bro.
know this about Jack on top of everything else.
And in the book, we know he's violent because he just got fired from his job because he beat a student up.
Okay, so now
Chill.
the family, we're cutting to them now arriving. He's gotten the job. The Overlook is closing up for the season. I believe they close like as of November 1st till May.
So it's a summer spot?
It's
a
just summer.
spot. Well, the reason
It's like
they
Dirty
explain
Dancing.
It.
Got it.
It's so old that they built it before like ski vacations were a thing.
Right, because I was
Right.
going to say you can make bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could make bank.
Good.
That would
And
be.
what state is it supposed to be in?
Colorado.
Colorado.
It's in the
Colorado.
Rockies.
It starts off in the Northeast because there's got to be some main presence for every Stephen King thing, with the exception of there's a few that are exceptions to that rule, but.
Right. Okay, so now we're doing a tour, and we're, as the viewer, getting to see more of the Overlook.
Yeah, we're creeped out.
We're creeped out. We're seeing people leave. He shows Wendy and Jack the apartment that they're going to be in. Also, do you notice that, because I've seen this now 50,000 times, not to brag, Ilana, so sorry, but
okay.
he actually checks out two of the extras that are walking down the stairs. There's like two pretty co-eds, and they're like,
Who,
"Bye,
Nicholson?
Mr. Ullman." And he like does a double take, but then like stares at them, and I'm like,
All
was
he
that
knows-
Jack or Jack?
That's
Like,
Jack.
From the
Jack.
making of, all he knows how to interact with women is by flirting with them. Like Kubrick's daughter, like somebody else. It's just like the script supervisor. Women he's clearly not even attracted to, but that's
Yeah.
just like
A
his
tip,
his
default is like, hey, how's it going?
Right.
Want to hang out later?
Except
you know?
Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think he was not interested in Shelley.
So, well, he
Duvall's-
wanted Jessica Lange, allegedly.
She
as
would have been
history
bad for
tells.
this, I think.
Jessica,
I love Jessica
I think
Lange,
he
but-
wanted to bang Jessica Lange, which is why he
Everybody
wanted
wanted
her.
to bang
Oh, I
Jessica.
want to bang her right now. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah,
her.
same. She's so beautiful.
Please. Okay, so now we're getting a tour. We meet Dick Halloran, who is the head chef there, and Dick starts communicating with Danny. Telepathically,
through
thank
AKA
you.
The Shining,
Through The Shining.
the namesake of the book and movie.
And what we find out when he's with Danny alone, giving him ice cream, is that he has what Danny has. He calls it the shine. His grandmother had it. And he said that they can communicate and see images, and that they're just pictures in a book. If you see a scary image, it's just like a picture in a book. It's not real. He goes to Miami.
And then him and Danny communicate when it's getting really bad later on. Danny communicates to him telepathically.
How fucking strange. What a crazy Stephen King, just like a chef and he's going to Miami.
I know, the Miami thing. Also, that's like my dream life, to have like mountains in the summer.
Well, the
sure.
Miami thing,
Florida
yeah, 'cause
in the
you cut
winter.
to his apartment in Miami, and it's like just him in like pajamas with just pictures of all these big-breasted women. Like they clearly like just
beautiful
do.
art.
They just like clearly it's like this is the paradise that he's in, and now.
Dan doesn't understand art because he's like, did you see all those pictures
It
of the
wasn't
naked
art- it
ladies?
wasn't
I'm
just
like,
artistic.
They're beautiful paintings
And it
of
wasn't-
naked, voluptuous
They
women.
are. They're not like
They're
Miami.
not. They're not. They're
No,
no,
she's
they're,
like posing.
They're
Yeah,
somewhere in the
it's a
middle.
little sexy, but
Okay,
they're
they're somewhere in the
somewhere in the
middle.
Okay, well, I like
It's
them.
good for the art connoisseur and the pervert. Okay.
Yeah.
Checks out for both. 'Cause
We-
I'm holding our dead baby doll.
Dead
which
baby doll
maybe
that
we
I
should
bought
call
off
her Penelope.
Amazon.
I don't know.
Penny. Okay, so now we are at the place where everybody leaves. they leave.
So scary.
They're alone. We also find out a little bit more about the history of it.
My favorite part of this is because he shows the only part that like seems kind of fun is he shows Shelley Duvall all the food they can have.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh,
He's
this
like-
looks good.
Yeah, he's like canned peaches and Oreos, and
Yeah.
he's like just going through this list. He also tells Danny, by the way, do not go into room 237. Whatever you do, do not go inside, which in the book was room 217.
But 237, the actual hotel, they didn't want to use that number.
They didn't
want
wanna
to use
use
217 because
217.
they wanted to fill it as a hotel.
Because
Oh,
they
that's
shot
so
it in this
funny.
real hotel, yeah. But apparently everybody always asks for room 217.
It was a real
'cause
missed
they know.
opportunity.
Yeah.
They could have charged like $500 a night.
Okay, now we jump a month later. So now they've been alone for a month, and we are looking at the Overlook, which, by the way, has this incredible maze that comes to
With
comes
the
back.
shrubbery. Yeah.
Which the maze, not in the book, but the shrubbery, it's instead, there's all these, animal shrubbery or whatever the art is. I don't know, like.
Oh, in the book?
And that comes to life and tries to attack Jack. But I think the maze is better.
The maze
Again,
is better.
I think the maze is better.
Yeah, it's creepier. And also, you can notice when you're staring at it, the maze, when they're shooting it, is right in front of the hotel. But when they're doing like aerial shots, there's no maze. It's just a little flub. Mr. Kubrick,
nice.
I have some notes on
I
your
see
work.
you, Mr. Kubrick.
Well, he does in this. There's like a bunch of crazy theories about this movie, and like so many of them are bullshit. But the one thing that I did know Spaventa noticed this too is that like there's certain things that are so blatantly bad continuity wise that he had to have chosen them, like just different chairs disappearing between shots and stuff. But I think that was an intentional. Hey, this is a living hotel, you know.
Right. He also did when he's doing the zoom, when he zoomed in on the reaction shots of Scatman Crothers while he's talking to Danny having the ice cream. I guess he also did that 80 times. 80 times a close up.
That is abusive.
It is.
Itself.
80
That is abuse.
times.
I can't kind of get the taste out of my mouth. It makes so much sense about Shelley Duvall being deeply abused, and also him and Jack Nicholson like enjoying that is so gross.
Yeah.
And she like really I think lost her mind as a
She did. She
human
says she
being.
did.
Yeah.
She said it was like psychological torture.
Like
what they
long
did.
term lost her mind. Not like, oh, after this movie I like lost my mind. I mean like
Yeah.
she left the
And I-
business and couldn't function as a
Right.
person. It's really a shame.
Did she do anything after this
She
ever?
did. Didn't she do story
She just did something.
story
under
time
the-
or something?
And isn't there the thing with
Story
her
Time
and
was
Meryl
great.
Streep and they're dead and like the hole in the middle of
Death Becomes Her?
Yeah.
That's Goldie Hawn and Meryl
duh.
Streep. I really think Shelley Duvall. She is coming back though, you guys. She's doing another horror movie soon.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
great. So okay, now we've been there a month. He's getting no writing done, Jack. She's doing everything. She's manning the boiler. She's making him breakfast. He tells her how much he loves it, how he feels like he's had this deja vu. It's very familiar to him.
gross. Yikes.
And he loves it. And she's like, I was a little scared at first, but this is kind of fun and nice. And look, first month there, no incidents, except maybe Danny seeing the Red Rum twins. But like other than that, everything's pretty good. But he is not writing. So the train is slowly going off the tracks. Then all of a sudden, we're starting to jump to specific days in a week. It feels like this only took place over.
And that's when it's like a black card and the white letters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's just saying like Tuesday. And Wendy is cooking. She's watching TV. They're talking about the snowstorm. She's excited about like, oh, we're going to get a snowstorm. She goes into him. He's writing, just tapping away. And that's when you really get a sense of like the craziness is coming out, I think,
Yeah.
because he's so mean to her and he's sort of mansplaining how writing works to her. Like when I'm in here and you hear this.
It's so weird. It's like, what's the like self-awareness, or like it was like on the brink at that time when Kubrick and Jack Nicholson are like, yeah, he's an abusive character, but they're literally abusing her. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
they
and
are.
they're like, God, we're so brilliant pointing out abuse.
Right.
But they're enacting it too. It's like,
She was surrounded by it on set, like while they were shooting and while they weren't. They were just tormenting poor Shelley Duvall.
it's like, I guess it's like a painful, I don't know, that like them raising consciousness about it, telling a story telling the story at all of like an abusive husband. The whole thing is pretty much an amplified domestic abuse story.
Yeah, for sure.
And him being like, my genius. And then she ends up doing his work. Meanwhile, she like ends up probably, you know, in real life, like writing
She wrote
his
his
book too.
yeah.
But it's like, I guess that's the thing in telling stories that, you know, I'm like pissed or whatever at Kubrick and Jack Nicholson, but I'm like, they didn't fucking know better. This was
No.
like the best they
Right.
could do.
And who knows if that's what made her go. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think, like, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, the last thing they worked on was a Kubrick movie. I'm sure that hastened the process of their divorce, but...
Well, also
I'm
time was up on that contract.
Yeah, oh, well, that's the thing, too. It's like, I'm sure that there are other things going on
Right, I
in
think-
that relationship,
Yeah.
you know?
Is Eyes Wide Shut? Is that it? You're saying?
That
And
was his last
Kubrick?
movie.
That was his
He
last,
didn't-
and then
he didn't
I think
finish
he
it either.
died on
He didn't
while they
finish
were,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, so they, like, what
Wow.
you see is not the official Kubrick cut, but...
I don't think I've ever really seen that movie.
I haven't either.
But I know like images of it, and they were so beautiful.
I also know like the joke of like, oh, I'm going to an Eyes Wide Shut party. And it's
Well, when
just,
I was
like,
a kid, I was
sex
like, I
party
heard it
with
was like a sex thing. So then I would like look up the scenes, and it's
Yeah.
all like naked dudes wearing Phantom of the Opera masks. And
Yeah,
you're like,
it's
I
a
don't think
little
I'm gonna
too
get
fancy.
anything from this.
And
Yeah.
Dan got his first chub. You're
Yeah.
like, ooh,
There
the
we go.
Phantom. Dan, when you were little, didn't you used to? What superhero were you?
I liked Venom when I was a kid.
No, you said you were a superhero.
All right, well, before that, are you talking about?
Master.
Okay, yes. When I was a kid, some kids would pick Batman and Superman, and I picked Master of the House from Les Mis. Okay?
Love.
My wife knows
Work,
that. Thank you
bitch.
for bringing
I
that
fell
up.
in love with him.
I love it.
Appreciate it.
I love it.
Master
love
that pussy. Am
Master
I, no?
of that.
All right.
No, just the house.
You guys couldn't see me not getting a high five.
My brother, like as the older brother, would like call me. He and his best friend Kevin, who had a little brother who remains my best friend Daniel. They had this narrative that we were spoiled younger siblings, but we were like truly such good little kids, and they were such little shitheads. And
Yeah.
they would have this narrative that we were like the prince and princess from Les Mis. I know there's not a prince and princess, but we were like.
Cosette.
Yeah, I don't really know. But like that they were the peasants, and they would sing like Master of the House and say that we were like the ruling class, basically.
That's a very
Yeah.
deep play, you know. As
Elliot
far as,
was
like,
Eponine.
Yeah,
bringing
a very
class,
gay sort of
Robespierre.
narrative for an older brother to have.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a good kid too, as the youngest, and my sisters were
Yeah.
nightmares. And I can say that I love them, but they're not going to listen to this. Okay, so
Why start supporting you now?
right, why? I'm almost 45 years
Yeah.
old now.
Yeah, no,
we're going to
we're
start
good.
this part of my life. Okay, so then we go to Thursday. It's the snowstorm. That was Tuesday when he yelled at her. I guess they made up. They're playing in the snowstorm. We hear this loud, like almost a dog whistle. In fact, when it first came on, myself and Falky, one of our dogs, looked out the window because we thought someone was, I don't know, screeching like a bike or something. No, it's part of the soundtrack, I came to realize. And so now we find...
Sarah was on a lot of edibles during one of this.
I did smoke a lot of weed to watch this and
Scary.
take notes. And there was a point where I couldn't, you know, when you just get so high, you just want to go to bed.
Yes.
And I was like, I won't finish this until tomorrow. And then I got like this burst.
It was
of
actually when
energy.
we were making love.
I fell asleep. It
I
happens.
was like, all right, time to go to
Uh-huh.
bed. This isn't going anywhere.
I'm like, I'm dried up and exhausted. Thanks so
Just
much.
fucking sand of the hourglass down
But
here.
we see Jack staring at them through the window, and he's just got this sick, weird,
So scary.
fucking scary, and he's in a turtleneck, and he's just like all possessed,
Yeah.
if you will, by whatever spirit there is. Okay, and then he's working again. Back to him working. I also have a question: who made the fire? There's like this beautiful roaring fire every time. You know,
Sure,
he didn't
Shelley
do
Duvall
that.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
Wendy
sure.
did that for him.
Yeah, Wendy did that.
And so she's trying to make contact with this outside world. She's also wearing one of the coolest sweaters. It's like this yellow stitched 1970s.
Fuck yeah.
I love her wardrobe in this whole
Fuck
film.
yeah.
So cool.
That's cool.
And she's
that's cool.
trying to,
She actually looks like every girl in Williamsburg in 2008.
and now,
Nice.
because it's now, yeah.
You know, like in 2008 in Brooklyn, either girls were dressing like really provocatively or they were dressing like school marms.
Yeah.
It was like
It was like
weird-
American Apparel or
yeah,
like
Raggedy Ann or like Raggedy Ann. It was like
yeah, I was
what-
just thinking that recently, like the thing of in LA is like Annie Hall, but porn stars dressed as Annie Hall is like kind of
Yeah.
the thing. Like, you know, like lips and, you know, whatever, and like sort of fillers and the same shape face, but then like a blousey blazer.
But the blousey blazer is like just nipples out.
yeah.
Nobody wants an Annie Hall porn parody, guys.
Oh, I don't know. With the lobster and the tennis rackets, that could be
Some
kind
girl
of
comes
fun.
and dresses as a lobster.
If it was like a female
Looking for a
filmmaker.
third?
I think Woody would like that.
Yeah.
So now they are. Danny runs into those twins again. Danny keeps seeing them on and off, on and off. Things are starting to get a little creepy. He remembers what Holleran, the chef, said to him, just pictures in a book. Don't pay attention. And now that was Saturday. Now it's Monday. See what I mean? It's like we're taking
Which
a couple
is interesting
days.
because in the
freaky.
book, one of the ways the ghosts are really activated is that Nicholson, Jack Torrance, finds a scrapbook in the basement, and like that stuff starts coming to kind of life. So it's more of like a, in like a lot of horror movies, like we just watched the new Evil Dead, you find like the Necronomicon. There's always got to be some thing from the other world you find that opens a portal to the other world.
That's right. And you do see a scrapbook at one point. I feel like maybe when he was yelling at her in that scene, you see a book that's open with little
One of
photos.
the times that
Just
he was
one
yelling
of
at
the,
her.
I can't figure out which one it was.
That's
I
his
don't remember.
portal. When he yells at his wife, he starts to see the other world.
Yeah, his anger. I think this is also Monday is when he gets drunk and he meets the bartender. He goes into the grand ballroom,
Scary.
which they have removed. We find out
That look-
earlier.
that
all
drink
the
looks
alcohol.
so good though, huh?
Oh, God, talk about an alcoholic.
No, I do. I get relaxed when he sits down in that hotel, like, because there's nothing like going to a hotel and having a stiff drink. Guys, I am not drinking right now.
He's not. He's actually sober right now.
Like being
Nice.
smoking a little weed here
You're
and there,
California sober.
But yeah, I'm California sober. But yeah, that feeling. I don't know if you guys ever had that where you just go to a hotel and you're there before everyone else. You just have like one drink. And
Yeah.
you're
Oh, yeah.
It's so adult and like anonymous.
it's so adult and
is.
anonymous. Yeah, that's
is.
what
and
it
a
is.
beautiful rocks glass.
Yeah.
Like I don't drink whiskey, but for me, I guess it would be like a vodka soda or something like that.
Yeah.
A wine, glass of wine.
You know, it almost feels like a dream. Like which is what I love about this movie. It's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like what's happening, and even
Well,
when
that
it's
is like true about The Shining because it is so beautiful. It's like between a nightmare and a dream.
yeah,
Like which one is it? You know?
Yeah, because you have to almost think like because there's also that point where he's watching TV with Wendy and Jack is upstairs sleeping and she's like, "Daddy went to bed only a few hours ago." Doing what? Just like what was this fucker doing?
the whole movie.
So
feels
he's
like.
so exhausted. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Okay. We're in an abusive relationship, but I'm the Jack. I don't know if you can tell in this marriage.
Make my fire.
I love you. Make my fire. And Danny goes up and he's sleeping and he's not sleeping. He's like sitting wide awake. And Danny, he like pulls him in. He's like, "I would never hurt you. You know that." And then he starts saying shit about her, like your bitch mom. He's like,
Yeah, he says
always
that.
throwing her under the bus. Always.
So scary.
He's
and I
blaming
bet like
everything on her.
literally typical of so many like relationships at that time.
Yeah.
So scary.
And also,
Also,
like,
people
didn't
got
have to be
married early.
possessed. Yeah, my parents got married real early.
So it's like they got married to this person at 20. Of course, they all hate each other. You guys got
Right.
married at like fucking 20.
yeah, fully.
Right. Yep. So at another point, so she's doing electrical work. She's doing his job, and she
This
hears
bitch knows how to do everything.
She's
Huh? She's like
Jack
an
of all
engineer.
trades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jesus.
She's
Everything but
amazing.
pick a husband.
Hello. And like read the room too. Like he's obviously pissed. Like
Right.
take the boy and just leave. So she hears him screaming. Jack runs in and he's telling her how he had this nightmare that he chopped her and Danny into little pieces. And Danny walks in because Danny had this point had gone into
Gross.
room 237 even though he wasn't supposed to. The
Oofa.
door was open. And he walked in. We don't see what happens, but then Danny approaches and he's got these marks on his neck like he'd been
And he's
strangled.
catatonics.
And he's out of it. And
Very scary. Oh my God. This individual must have been so traumatized by this experience, being alone in that set with all these out of their minds adults.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your pretend mom is being abused. That must have
Constantly.
been
Yeah.
so traumatic.
The making of was like there is one point that was really sad because they interviewed Danny and he just talks about, he's like, yeah, my parents from this, they said they'll buy me something. And then
Yeah,
he's like some of the
therapy.
kids make fun of me because
hope.
they think have money and I don't. Like that's
Yeah.
all he
Yeah,
says.
because you
That's-
got paid scale.
Right, with no back end, and he's like the most viewed child actor of all time.
Yeah.
That's so fucked.
And the parents probably took all the money when he was 18.
Yeah.
Put it in a
Yikes.
trust. I hope not. I hope that it was more pleasant. He did get out of the business. So
Yeah.
he did figure out a way.
Cut to him on OnlyFans.
Someday.
He's got like a guy named Tommy who fucks him in the ass.
This is also, he's also at one point wearing that Apollo 11 sweater. He's got the coolest sweaters
Yeah,
as well.
that's
There's like
cool.
a Mickey Mouse one. There's like really cute little kitschy things. But isn't there something about the Apollo 11 and the moon landing or something?
Yeah, there's a theory that Kubrick, that this is a fake movie, and that Kubrick was actually filming Apollo 11 footage or some sort of
Well,
space
someone said
footage.
the moon landing,
The
which
moon
was
landing,
in the
which doesn't
like,
make any
late
sense.
60s, makes no sense.
No, that doesn't make any sense. But like it was just a government. It was basically we've never gone to outer space, and this is just
People really need therapy. Mm-hmm. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and like actual history education.
Well, yeah.
I don't, I go back and forth on that because I'm like, there's so many horrible things that have happened, like the Tuskegee experiments that you would think are just like out of a horror movie, and then they happen. So it's like, of course, some people believe psychotic stuff because,
Right. Right.
Gulf of Tonkin, there's all this crazy shit that's happened,
It definitely is hard to sort out the world.
Oh, for sure.
But that is just one crazy conspiracy theory,
Right,
Like
amongst
almost
a
like
million.
who cares? Like who cares to come up with this conspiracy theory
Right.
that Kubrick, that The Shining is a fake movie? What the fuck is a fake movie? All
Right.
movies are pretend.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
weird.
And
It's
that's
really
that's
strange.
the other thing. It's like, but it was based on a book. Do you guys realize that? Like, Kubrick didn't like make up this, and it's based on a book. So how is
Yeah.
it? A fake?
I just don't even know what like a fake movie is.
yeah, I don't know.
That's
I think
so
every
weird.
every movie's like a real movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. People have too much time on their hands.
they do. Okay, so now he's gone crazy. It's official. It's another day, and he goes back
To
into
237.
Yes, he goes into 237. That's right. He goes into the room.
Because at this point, Shelley Duvall's the wife thinks that he's
Thank you. Abusing Danny.
abusing the Danny again.
She thinks he did those marks.
and he didn't. Yeah.
But then she finds out that he didn't because Danny told her that an old woman, and she's like, Jack, there's someone else in this hotel. That's the person that did it. But before that, he actually meets Grady in the ballroom at like it looks like a New Year's Eve party. It's actually the 4th of July
Yeah.
party. And it's like 1921. And so he meets Grady, and Grady is a butler there or a waiter and follows him into the bathroom because he spilled something on him. And that's where Grady tells him why he killed his family, and like Jack should do the same. Like this is
And
your
then there's an
mission.
N-bomb coming out of nowhere. Like Dick Halloran, she's like, that N-word is talking to your son.
Yes.
From
Oh,
Miami.
God.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a little out of place where you're kind of like, all right, I get what you're trying to do here, but
What are they trying to do? Say the past or something?
No,
yeah,
it's
well,
just-
it is an ancient. It's a guy's from like the 20s or whatever.
1920.
Yeah, so like he would say that,
about him. Right. He knows that Danny
So
and
weird.
Dick are communicating while Dick's in Miami. And then I guess you then flash to Dick in Miami
So
in the
funny.
bed being told these things by Danny as he's saying this. So
I literally almost just asked, how are they communicating on the phone?
yeah,
WhatsApp?
instant messenger.
WhatsApp.
Okay, poor Danny is drooling. He's fucking freaked out. He's shaking, keeps shaking.
Danny actually does an impression of Jack Nicholson now.
So mean. Also, can we stop like shaming people for getting older?
No,
like,
that
people
is
are being
true.
such dicks.
I think
They're
it's
like,
more just like Jack Nicholson had too good of a life.
let's
Yeah.
take him down.
Not even take him down, just like easy punching bag. He's old and he's, you know what I mean?
And
Like-
he hated old people, probably.
yeah, and also just like
was an
whatever. Like the
ageist.
Roman Polanski should happen at his house. Like he's had too much fun.
So let's
Like
take
a
him
criminal
down.
amount. Not even take him down. Just like make fun of him.
Yeah, while he's out on his balcony picking up like.
He's
having a
still one of
coffee.
the greats.
They're like
one of
he
the goats.
emerged. I'm like he went outside
Oh,
for
that'd be
fresh
funny.
air. But
Yeah.
I do. I get what you're saying. Okay, so Jack goes into the room, and he sees this sexy naked woman. I mean, full bush, like full frontal, comes out of the tub, gorgeous, approaches him, and he's like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." They make out, and she slowly morphs into the old woman with the saggy boobs and rotting flesh. That's what she becomes, and then he's for the first time actually scared.
Yeah, that's really Jack Nicholson's nightmare. Is to
Yeah, it's a
It
woman
is.
kiss
aging.
a woman
Exactly.
that is his age.
Oh no!
Yeah.
It really is. That's like the nightmare Leonardo DiCaprio has before he goes
That's
to
right.
bed every night.
And that's
All
what
the
he pictures. That was a woman his age, and
Yep.
he pictures her flesh rotting and her titties on the floor. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I just picked something out of Mushi's eye and threw it on the floor. I'll
Cool.
pick it up after.
Not my home.
It's
Don't
just
worry about it.
just a crumb. All right, so yep, rotting flesh. Now, Dick is now on the phone calling the Torrances. He's trying to make contact with the Overlook, but the line's down because of the storm. So he calls the local park rangers, and he finds out that like no one is answering there. So he's concerned. So he's going to now go up to the hotel because he's worried about what's going on, because he knows something bad is happening because of Danny.
He's leaving Miami?
He's leaving Miami.
Wow.
To go to a snowstorm, to get a snowcat to drive it up the 25-mile
Snowcat is such a cool
stretch.
name.
I know. It says it on the thing, snow track. And so I kept thinking, like, are they saying snow? It's a
I
snowcat,
feel like that's like the
right?
badass in a ski movie.
The snow track.
Yeah.
Oh, Snowcat up there.
Yeah.
A little snowcat. So yeah, and then Jack comes out. He says, nothing in that apartment, nothing to see here. Danny's making it up. So Wendy's not buying it, that, he's hearing and seeing things. Jack is furious that she wants to take her son out of that environment. Also great parent he is, abusive father. To take Danny to a doctor. And now he's yelling at Wendy about ruining his job and getting in the way of his mission and what he's supposed to do as the caretaker. Meanwhile, she's been doing his job the whole fucking time that she's been there. So, what comes next? What do we have next?
Eventually we get to the point where he's just losing his mind more and more. And she
Right.
discovers him, she discovers the all work, no play thing.
Yikes.
That he's
Oh,
been
well,
writing.
let's get to that quickly. So, she finds his writing in a box that he's been writing for like how many months. And it's just all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy over and over, but in different like formations.
so
like,
scary.
And yeah, what did we read? We read that Kubrick's secretary actually spent a month typing all of that up.
This is really, as we said, this is really the story of Kubrick's secretary and how awful it was to be an admin. How awful it always is to be an admin.
Yeah. Oh, this is also the scene now where she has a bat. And this is the one he made her do, actually, I think 127 times.
That is
Where she's-
so disturbing.
Yep.
She's so good in that scene, though.
She's so good. I mean,
It's
that and
so
when the axe goes through. So he's like,
yeah, watch this movie as like eating veal. Real, like this is delicious, but
no, veal's not good.
oh well, I didn't know.
I mean, maybe. I see what you're saying. Okay. All right. So she's going to get Danny help. End of story. She's going to figure out a way. She knocks him out, carries his body, drags it into...
Knocks out. Oh, Jack.
Jack.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
She knocks Jack. He falls down the stairs because he's like, love of my life. I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to chop you up into little bits and
Oh,
pieces.
my
So he is now
God.
full on fucking crazy, not
Yeah.
even trying to hide it, that he wants to kill them both. So she locks him in the pantry. She tries to go to
But
the
doesn't
snow-
kill him.
doesn't kill him. I would have made sure. This is what pisses me off in horror movies. Make sure the motherfucker's dead.
Well, they're
Well,
always
she
like
didn't wanna
dumb
kill him
bitch.
yet.
Like
I-
they always make them like dumb bitches. You know what I
Dumb.
mean?
Like,
It's like
oh.
just
Well, she
kill
doesn't
him.
want to kill him yet because it is the father of her. She wants to get him help.
I
She's
get
the
that.
father of her son.
She wants to get them out of there, and then
It's not like she's walking up Jason, you know.
Right. Well, yeah, no, that's true. And then she says to him, he says to her through the door because he's locked in the pantry, "Why don't you go check out what I did to the snowcat?" He basically removed all the wires, so there's
So
no
scary.
way of them
So
getting out of
scary.
here. And then O'Grady, not O'Grady, just Grady, approaches the pantry while Jack is locked inside and gets him out. So the ghost.
Which
Oh.
the greatest Simpsons Treehouse of Horror ever. They parody this, and he's stuck in the freezer, but the ghosts come to get Homer, but
Right.
Homer's already eating everything in the freezer.
That's so
And
funny.
he goes, "Come back later," and then they have to like drag him out, you know.
So funny.
So the next scene is the infamous, here's Johnny.
Love.
Improvised, not in the book.
Yeah.
Breaks down the door. She shoves Danny out the window, slides down a little snow.
And Johnny, was that just like improv or is
It
that
was, right?
It's
'Cause
not
who
like
the fuck
referring-
is Johnny?
like Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson.
Oh, it is. Okay, cool. That's what I
Oh,
thought.
dick. I knew that, guys. I'm just on my note taking.
I could see Stephen King writing that though.
Right, but he didn't. And so now Scatman Crothers is arriving on a snowcat, the chef, and he's calling out, and Jack hears him because he's like, "Hello, is anyone there?"
Scatman Crothers.
Scatman Crothers. He goes around, chops him with an axe in the heart, kills him instantly, and now is screaming and running after her and Danny. They're both trying to find Danny.
Yeah.
Danny's been locked away. All of this stuff.
Oh, it's too scary.
Danny goes into the maze. He follows. Shelley Duvall, trying to find Danny, comes across all these weird ghosts, some skeletons, a guy in a dog costume. I'm assuming it's a guy blowing another guy.
Right, I love that's my favorite
And then
shot.
he sits up. I
Uh-huh,
love that.
yeah.
And it's just like the zoom in.
Now that's just a fetish. Now it's just furries.
just a
now we
party.
watch it and I'm like, I think I went to a convention.
Yeah.
Wendy sees the blood pouring out of the elevator, and then she goes out, finds Danny. At this point, Danny has tricked Jack.
It comes out of the elevator, but the door's never open.
No, it just pours out from the
That's
side.
so funny. Danny tricked Jack because Shelley Duvall is too much.
She's so
Wendy is too much of a dumb
stupid.
bitch
She's
that
such a
she.
dumb bitch.
It takes a male child
A male
to
child.
beat Jack, and the woman can't do it. God
Yep.
damn.
To trick him, and he freezes to death. Jack, Danny escapes, hops in the snowcat with Wendy.
The Scatman snowcat. There's a second snowcat.
Is he driving it? The child.
The child's driving it.
Yes,
He's the only one who
'cause
knows
she doesn't know how to
operate.
drive
Right,
because she's a
right.
fucking woman, Alana.
Yeah. Damn.
She's like, oh, my titties are in the way of the steering wheel.
Yeah.
What's going on? My pussy got stuck on the gear shift. It's like things that aren't even
Okay,
physically
so
possible.
he's dead, and the last shot is zooming in on a photo of the July 4th ball
Love.
in 1921, and front and center is Jack. And so
I'm so nervous this is going to be me at the comic strip one day. You're just going to
Yeah.
zoom in, and I'm going to be like with all the old comics. You know, I was here the whole time doing hack bits.
I thought you were going to
It's
say
like-
Comics on 14th and 8th Street.
Oh, with the X. It is Ochi Lounge. Yeah, this whole
Oh my
there's an
God,
old club, guys,
Ochi's.
named Comics. That was a really cool club that went out of business because they didn't
because
really
the rent was
understand.
probably too
Yeah,
much.
they
It was
couldn't-
too
they
much,
couldn't
and they
meat
were like
packing.
they were booking comics that you could see for free on Whiplash for
Yeah.
like, you know. But yeah, check it out.
But then they had Ochi's Lounge downstairs,
Yeah.
which is where we would do shows
Yeah.
because it was fun. And then like getting the big room upstairs was like the coolest thing
Yeah.
in the world. And that, everyone, is The Shining. Thank you again, Ilana, so much for doing this with us.
Thanks
I
for
appreciate it.
thanks for reminding me about the experience of watching The Shining without me having to actually watch it. This was helpful.
Alana, what would you like to promote?
Oh yeah.
Come see me on the road.
Yeah.
Come see me on the damn road. I'm in a bunch of cities. Booking
I'm-
a bunch
I'm opening
more.
for Ilana,
Dan's
2 of
coming.
them.
Yep, that's
I'm
right, on the
excited.
road, and I'll book a bunch more in the fall. But come see me. It's a good ass time.
Woo. Dan, thank you for being a great husband.
All right, that's enough
All
out of
right,
me.
guys, thank you.